What I have always prided myself on is that discipline doesn't matter. So in the horse world, there's a million different disciplines. And one thing that I bring to the table is that with Cavalia, with all the training that I had and with the performing I had, I can attest to the fact that no matter what discipline you want to do, the common ground is just having a really solid foundation. And so that's what I love helping people achieve.
Everyone's favorite subject is themselves. So when you ask for someone else's opinion on how to be where they are, were you surprised at their willingness to share?
Yes, I was extremely surprised.
For everybody who listens and hasn't gotten started yet and they don't know the right next thing, that's how you get started. You reach out to the person who is where you want to be and you start to interview them.
Yeah.
Because if you are filled with genuine curiosity, people are going to be willing to share how they got to it. Think about this from Ben's perspective, the guy who you interviewed who eventually interviewed you. Do you think he wants to put an article on Craigslist for a potential equestrian rider for the show? Or do you think he's going to go after people that are bugging him to be in the show? So you just have to get in the right room with the right way. In order to take that step, you don't have to know what the outcome is. It's almost like having the expectation of success is detriment because you're limiting what it possibly could have been. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cash Flow Conversations. Today, I have a guest who I've known for a couple of years. She shares the same last name as myself. Today, I have Emily Love, but now what do you go by?
Yeah, technically, legally, it's Mendonça, but Love is still my middle name, so it kind of counts.
Got it. So you got married and got rid of the most wonderful last name on the history of the world, but that's okay. Lucas is a great guy. Shout out to Lucas. But I'm stoked to have you here, Emily. You have probably one of the most unique journeys of anybody that we've talked to. Not only are you a business owner, you're from a college dropout to a circus clown to business owner. And I'm not even joking. So let's dive right in and start, what made you drop out of college here, Em?
I feel like we could just stop the podcast there. It's pretty much all people need to know. Well, I guess the short version is why I dropped out or why I left college. So I finished 1 year, was just because I had a really great opportunity that ultimately changed my life. And
you were in college. You're in college in Michigan, and was your major equestrian or what was your major?
No, my major was business. I had no idea what I wanted to do. But the college I went to was known for its equestrian program. So I had been in contact with them from like junior year of high school. They were following my competitions leading up to freshman year of school, and so they were known for their equestrian facility and their equestrian teams. And I brought my horse with me. I brought Dane there, but at the moment when I was a freshman and when I joined, the plan was just to go into business. I was good at math, and I liked being around people, and I liked numbers, and growing up with dad with what he did, it was just I thought I would kind of go into that world. But turns out I almost failed econ. Oh my gosh, really bad, really really bad. Not a good professor, but almost failed econ, and then I found my way. I was just taking all sorts of different classes at school. So when the opportunity came up to leave school,
Well, let's talk about that. So you go down to Florida to see mom and dad over Christmas. So you're with your family.
Spring break, yeah.
Spring break. So you're hanging out with your family over spring break, and you go see a circus called Cavalia, which is the way I describe it is it's like Cirque du Soleil with horses.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. At that time, so the company was called Cavalia. The show that we saw was called Odisseo. And at that time, because Cavalia had two shows, second one was called Odisseo, and it was the biggest traveling show in the world. So it was over 100 semi trucks touring all of North America. So yeah, I went to go visit mom and dad on my spring break, and mom, being mom, who loves horses more than I do, she told me, she like sent me all these links, and she's like, I have VIP tickets to go see the show, and it's going to be so amazing, and we're front row. And I really wasn't excited at all. I've never been one of those people who like seeks horse events or horse adventures on my like downtime. I just haven't. So I remember we were driving because mom and dad were staying in Miami in their motorhome, and we were driving to the show, and I was reading a book in the back of the car. We pull up. I'm like, this kind of looks cool. Like it's a huge tent, but I wasn't excited. And so yeah, we were in the front row, and within like 5 minutes of the show starting, and the first number has always been my favorite number. So within the first 5 minutes of the show, I was sitting between mom and dad. So it was dad, me, mom, and I'm crying. And mom's already been crying, and dad was almost in tears as well. So that just goes to show like what an impact the show had on people. And I had never seen anything like it. And I had been around horses by that time for 10 years and competed a lot and traveled a lot with my horse. And I had never seen anything like it. And so I just, once intermission came around, I looked at mom and dad. I was like, this is what I want to do. I don't know how people got into the show. I don't know what it takes to get into the show, but this is what I want to do for the next few years. Like, how can I get into it? And that's just when everything changed.
So then what steps did you take next? Because I think I have a memory of this, and I don't know if my memory is the same as yours, but what were the next steps that you took?
The
How
first
does one go from an audience member to a circus clown?
communication was the biggest thing. So, because we were in the VIP package, we got to tour the stables at the end of the show. And it just so happened that the CEO and the founder of Cavalia was in the stables, and he would visit from time to time, and I recognized him from the brochure. And so I went up to him and I talked to him and I asked for any suggestions he could have for somebody who might be interested in working in the show and performing. And he was helpful. He said, reach out to the office and send in a video and sign my book, and it was great. But then mom took it the next step further. And at that time, Facebook wasn't what it is today. It was, I think it was a healthier version of Facebook. So it was easier to find, like, communicate in a different way on Facebook. It wasn't so much, it just wasn't so overwhelming as it is now. So mom had the idea to reach out to one of the, well, to reach out to the equestrian director and then try to reach out to one of the performers. And so, again, going back to we were in VIP, we got to take pictures with 3 performers at the end of the show. One of them was Matthew Bianchi, the other one was Antoine, and then another one was an aerialist. And so I got on Facebook and I found Matthew on Facebook, and I reached out to him, and I, without fangirling, I just said that the show was amazing, and if you could give any advice to somebody who would be interested in getting in the company, what would you say? And he told me to reach out to Ben. And so I did. I found Ben on Facebook, and I still have all these messages, which is pretty surreal. But he said to reach out to Ben and kind of go from there. And then Matthew just told me about like what the show is about, and was really helpful. So I got in touch with Ben, and he with the school I was in at Albion, I was a member of their blog, so I was a writer for the blog, and our project was to write about what we did on spring break if it had anything to do with horses. So I had a pretty cool story to write that I got to see this show. And so that's how I approached Ben. I said that I'm a writer for my college blog, and I would love to interview you if you have any time. And he gave me a lot of time. We met a few days after, because I was only there for about 7 days. So we met a few days after, and we sat in the audience, and he let me record our conversation. It was a 2-hour conversation. And at the end, actually, and I still have this recording, Dad kept the recorder. At the end of the conversation, he kind of started interviewing me. And looking back, it was my audition, my interview of potentially working for him. And so we finished, and I went back to the motorhome with mom and dad. And then that night, I got an email, actually a call. He asked me to call him, and that's when he offered me to move to France. It started off as being a nanny and working with him then everything changed. The academy opened and everything changed from there.
No listener knows what you're talking about, how everything changed. So we're going to keep going. But this is a great example of not knowing what the outcome is going to be, but knowing the direction that you want to go in and just getting in the right room.
Mm-hmm.
And not unlike this podcast, everyone's favorite subject is themselves. So when you ask for someone else's opinion on how to be where they are, I mean, were you surprised at their willingness to share?
Yes, I was extremely surprised. And
I think that is for everybody who listens and hasn't gotten started yet and they don't know the right next thing. That's how you get started. You reach out to the person who is where you want to be and you start to interview them.
yeah.
Because if you are filled with genuine curiosity, people are going to be willing to share how they got to it. Do you think about this? And from Ben's perspective, the guy who you interviewed, who eventually interviewed you, do you think he wants to put an article on Craigslist for a potential equestrian rider for the show? Or do you think he's going to go after people that are bugging him to be in the show?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you just have to get in the right room with the right way. And in order to take that step, you don't have to know what the outcome is. It's almost like having the expectation of success is a detriment because you're limiting what it possibly could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so instead of you being in the show, this guy says, why don't you move to France for a few years and I'll teach you how to ride like we do.
Mm-hmm.
So you moved to France, French, which I was lovely. I was lucky enough to visit a couple of times. Beautiful little city. What was the name of that city? Tarbes?
Yep. Yep.
Tarbes.
Yep.
What was the big city next to that?
We were about an hour from Toulouse. That's where we
Toulouse.
would
Yeah.
fly into from Paris. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were 8 hours, we were about an 8.5 hour drive south from Paris. So whoever listens, like, no, I did not go vacation in Paris on my day off.
It was 8 hour drive?
Dude, and I never got to see Paris. Never.
Wait. It was 8 hours? Are you sure? It's not like 6?
Pretty sure it was, or maybe it was, the train was 8 hours. All I know is it was a long drive or train ride and I couldn't go on my day off. That's how
Wow.
far.
Okay, so quick story.
We were.
First time I went out and visited, I flew over there with my dad. And we missed the second flight or something. So then we got on this train in Paris to try to jump on another train to come down to Tarbes. Dad and I are in the middle of the Paris subway system. We're the only idiot tourists with luggage. I don't know how we ended up in this train station with all this luggage. Thousands of people. I'm like, Dad, let's just wait and let people go in front of us, and then we'll go last. We get off the train, and I see this group of boys sitting on the side. This is a random story. Group of boys sitting on the side, and they're all staring at us. And I'm like looking over, and I kind of just look down. And so Dad and I start walking up the stairs with all this luggage. And then all of a sudden, all these guys are around us. And then they leave. And Dad starts doing one of these. And I go, did they take your wallet? He goes, yeah. And I just ran after the leader guy that I mean, he's probably 17. And I tackled him in the subway, put him in a headlock. And I was like, America, right in his ear.
I'm sure you did.
But this is a true story. I put him in a headlock, and then this guy in street clothes shows up, starts like tapping me like, let go, let go. So I let go. And the dude starts punching the 17-year-old, and Dad got his money back. Yeah, got all $3,000 that was in his wallet, got all of his stuff back. The kids didn't go. The one kid out of 9 that I tackled had Dad's wallet.
Wow.
And the cop takes him back away, and you literally hear in the back room, because these kids were notorious for pickpocketing tourists. Yeah. And who looks like a tourist? And then a bunch of idiots carrying all this luggage, like don't speak any French. Yeah. And so then they're like, do you want to press charges? And this is where I regret everything from here on out. Dad goes, yeah, I want to press charges. So then we get in the back of this French cop car, which is the size of a Toyota Corolla. There's cop number 1 driving. Dad's sitting shotgun. I'm in the back left. There's a cop in the middle back seat of this Corolla. And then here's the crook. I can literally reach over and touch him if I wanted to. We're all scrunched into this car, and he takes one of those little tiny sirens and puts it on the roof like Jason Bourne. Wee-oo, wee-oo, wee-oo. And we're driving through traffic, like passing cars, up on the sidewalk, passing cars. And I see between all these buildings the Eiffel Tower just flying by. Like I'm like, that's the Eiffel. There's the Eiffel Tower. It's right there. And then we spent the afternoon in the cop shop. Dad's upstairs being interviewed. I'm sitting in this room that no cell phone service, no nothing. And 3 hours later, Dad comes down all angry and is like, let's go. We had to rent a car. By now it's nighttime. I had to drive from Paris to Tarbes at night in the rain and none of the signs are in English.
Nope. Nope.
I have no idea. And Dad's sleeping, snoring. I'm like, I don't even know where I am. I'm just staying on the one highway all the way down, and it worked. We pulled in at like 2 a.m.
You did. I remember that. Yeah, so you would
Yeah,
know if it's 6 or 8 hour drive from Paris. Either way, it's long, but it's
it was a long drive. I think it was like a 4.5, 5 hour, and the train could have been longer because of the
might
stops.
have been. Yeah. I just
Yeah,
never got to go up there. That's how far south we were. We were close to the Great Pyrenees Mountains is where we were.
yeah,
And it was
that was
yeah,
awesome because
it's
we
a
got to go up there too.
beautiful city, beautiful town. Um,
Okay, so to get back to your story, so you reach out, you interview, and they're like, you know what? I want to give you an opportunity that they didn't even have a spot for you. Like that job didn't even exist, right? They just kind of made a spot for you.
Sort of, yeah. So after I saw Ben for the physical interview, he called me back, and I had so after the interview, he had called me to ask me to go to France. Then he invited me back to the show tent to ride with them. And looking back, that was my riding audition. I don't remember much of what happened. I just remember showing up and
I blacked out.
I didn't bring riding clothes, so I'm in mom's t-shirt and jeans. I don't have riding boots, and I'm getting all these looks because I can attest to that when I was in the show and we'd have someone kind of walk in and ride with us. We're like, who's this person? And they wouldn't tell us if someone was auditioning really. So I borrowed some girl's boots who ended up being a great friend of mine after. I met
Who's
Matthew,
that?
who, what?
Who is
That was
that?
Mathilde. She was from
Okay.
France. She loaned me her boots. I recognized Matthew, and so we got to ride together. And Ben allowed mom to watch the lesson, and so mom was sitting there watching, and I was on this gorgeous, gorgeous bay Spanish purebred, and didn't even know he was a stallion until after the lesson. And mom was like, "Did you know that you're riding a stallion? I'd never been around a stallion." I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And then I look down, I'm like, oh, there he is. He was a stallion, but that just goes to show how well behaved they all were. So then that was like my riding audition, basically. And then I finished my freshman year of school because I wanted to do that for myself. I was already in the middle of a semester, so I wanted to have those credits finished. Um, so I finished freshman year, and then that spring, mom and dad and I went to Europe to look for a house for me, and then I officially moved in August of 2012.
Wow. So you live in France and you're riding horses and basically being trained so that at some point you can join the Cavalia out of Seo, the circus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was never guaranteed that I would be in the show. And the school didn't officially open until a few months after I was there. So um, I didn't even know there's going to be a school. I was just hoping to learn something with Ben over in France to better my chances of getting into the show. Then the school finally did open, and that's when it became really real. So I told them I didn't want to be a nanny anymore. I wanted to take this training very seriously because I didn't love living in France. I wanted to get back home or like back to North America. And
Yeah.
so I made that very clear to them that this was my goal. This is what I wanted to work towards was to get to Odiseo, not Cavalia. There's two shows. Cavalia was traveling all over the world, so all different continents, and I did not want to be in that show. I wanted to be in Odiseo. So
Cool. So you join out of Seo, uh, and did you have to wear the red nose and the big shoes in this?
no, that was in school. I had to do many of that. I'm not even kidding. We had to
You
do
really?
acting classes. We had to do interpretive dance classes. We had to do mime classes. Like, that's what I did. I hated it. I hated that part. I was not good at it, never good at acting. Don't want to dance in public. But I had to do all of it if that's what it took to get me there. So I did do that.
So you join the show, um, and then you met the strong man, right?
Well,
You met the strong.
I met him even before that. I met him, technically, I met him in Miami when I first saw the show, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
technically.
So that's where.
And you stalked him ever since.
No, I don't even remember meeting him there. Lucas remembers that. No, I don't.
Wink, wink,
I
wink.
just remember because he met mom too. Mom was with me. I just remembered a acrobat walking
I
up.
have a feeling if anybody met you, they would meet mom for quite
Mom
a
was with me
long.
every step of the way. As far as
Hmm.
if anything involved horses, yeah, she was there. So we,
Well, 90% of your life is horses.
yep,
So,
it is. Yeah,
so back to business. So you meet the strong man, you start dating in the show, and uh, we could talk about Cavalli for a long time. I don't really want to talk about the circus. It's an amazing show. I've
yeah,
literally seen it dozens of times.
yeah.
I got to travel to North America too. I saw you in Edmonton, Montreal,
In
uh,
Denver, you were there.
San Denver, San Francisco.
Yeah.
Um, so I got to see a lot of it. And amazing show. Check it out. Is it still traveling
No,
now?
dude,
I don't think it
it
is.
closed in 2019.
Very sad. Well, it probably wouldn't have been able to survive during COVID anyway. I mean, that probably would have.
There was talk of it becoming a permanent show in Las Vegas before the pandemic. So yeah, I don't know how well that would have gone.
So get out of the Cavalia. You end up you date the strong man, and you end up marrying the strong man.
Mm.
And so now you have two circus clowns creating a family in Middle Tennessee, and you're a business owner. So talk to me about your business that you have.
Yeah. So on paper, I'm technically a horse trainer and instructor, or on my tax forms, it's what I'm called. But what I like to say is that I work with people and their own horses to better their relationship so that they can achieve any goal that they have in mind. And what I have always prided myself on is that discipline doesn't matter. So in the horse world, there's a million different disciplines. And one thing that I bring to the table is that with Cavalia, with all the training that I had and with the performing I had, I can attest to the fact that no matter what discipline you want to do, the common ground is just having a really solid foundation. And so that's what I love helping people achieve. And then some stick with me for for the long haul, and then some don't need me anymore. I've helped them get to where they want to be, and they have a better and safer relationship. And that's if that is it, then it's perfect. So when I left Cavalli, it was 2016. That's when I first started my business. Um, and I moved to Georgia for a year. So I took my business with me, and then we moved back to Middle Tennessee. So 2018 was really when it started to pick up. So I work out of our mom and dad's farm, and they have a covered arena there. So that's where I have all my students come in, and we do private lessons, group lessons, and then I also host clinics as well.
And you're outside of Nashville.
South of
And soon I
Nashville.
was showing you how to. So if someone were to Google you, what's the name of your business?
My business is Love, Dressage, and Horsemanship.
And we'll make sure that there's some links to your information if someone wants to get involved here in Nashville to ride with you. They can just check out the description.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a business. You and Lucas buy a house. Um, and let's talk about money. Uh, do you guys have a retirement? How old are you?
I just turned 30.
Woo! Do you guys have a retirement account?
No.
But you invest. What did you invest in?
Yes. So after we got married, so my husband's from Brazil, and so after we got married, we were able to get life insurance together. So those were our first policies that we got, um, and then we,
Cash value, cash value whole life.
yes.
Yeah.
So that was a really big moment for us to be able to do that, especially with him being a foreigner. Was a big deal for him. Um, and then we bought an air.
Why do you think you started there? Really quick. Why do you think you started there instead of going into like the stock market?
I mean, probably the basic answer would be dad and you. I mean, growing up with dad selling life insurance and you getting into the business as well, it was just kind of a no brainer for us to invest that way.
Okay. Let's do a list of hierarchy of what's important. At 25, are you interested in retiring in the next few years?
At 25, I'm 30.
When you bought your policies,
Oh, was I? What was the
were
question?
you interested? Were you interested in retiring in the next few years?
No.
Okay. Did you want to use your money before retirement?
Yes.
Did you like the idea of buying cash flowing assets?
Yes.
That's why you ended up doing it, not because of me, because your priorities were, and I'm speaking for you, so tell me if I'm incorrect, but your priorities were not necessarily having money at retirement when you're 60,
Right.
but having money in the next few years that you could invest in a cash flowing asset before retirement.
Right.
So now what you mentioned in the past is supplementing your income. How can you duplicate your income and make money while you're not working?
Mm-hmm.
So while you say it was, influenced by me, but really we helped you find clarity in what your goals actually were, and it wasn't necessarily retirement. It's like, I want to have more income. I want to be able to use this money over and over.
Right. Well, yeah, you said it technically correct. I guess mine was more just like figuratively. Like growing up, that was what we talked about, like where to put your money and to be able to have access to your money now and not have to wait until you're 60 or 65 to do it.
Wonderful.
So it just
And what did you buy? What kind of cash flow asset?
what's that?
What kind of asset was your first big purchase for cash
An
flow?
Airbnb.
Beautiful. Talk to me about that. In the thriving metropolis of Nashville, Tennessee, right?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, we're just approaching a year for how long we've owned it. So we bought an existing business. So we bought an LLC that was connected to the Airbnb, and so everything was ready to go. It was just turnkey. Um,
Why did the people want to get rid of it? Do you know?
yeah, he was super nice. They lived in the building before it became an Airbnb. He's a lawyer in Franklin, and his wife just wanted to, they're talking about moving and having an Airbnb somewhere else. So they loved the building, like everything. There wasn't a big problem. They were just thinking about taking it elsewhere.
Good timing.
I know.
Some of the best deals are off market. And I know you had some help with a local realtor. Shout out to Sarah Butler.
Yes,
She's great.
yeah, she helped a lot. And yeah, it wasn't on the market yet. He was using her the previous owner I believe was using Sarah as his realtor. So we just happened Lucas and I just happened to set up a meeting with Sarah to say that we're thinking about buying an Airbnb. We didn't know if we wanted it to be a project Airbnb, like where we needed to do some rehab, because us, we love doing that stuff, but it was also like time versus money basically, and we don't have a lot of free time. So she just happened to say she had this one that wasn't on the market yet, and it just fell into our laps. It worked out really well.
Love it. Shout out to Sarah, man. I'll put a link for Sarah down there too.
Mm-hmm.
She's done a great job. She's got her hand on a lot of off market
Yeah.
deals in this area. Great for Nashville.
Mm-hmm. And she knows
Um,
Nashville so well.
I think that's her handle on Instagram. Sarah knows
Yeah, she
Nashville.
does. It's not a joke. She really knows the area.
One thing I want to point out that I think is really important that they mentioned the LLC. Did you understand how valuable that is in the transaction?
I didn't at the beginning. I learned a lot. Lucas is very much more business savvy than I am. So I learned a lot through him with all the meetings. So by no way was I the one like calling the people and setting it all up. I've never I've never advertised myself as a business savvy woman. So
Yeah.
Lucas knew a lot going into it, and so through the process, yes, I learned it how much it was beneficial.
It's huge, especially for Nashville. So, and it's not the same everywhere. This isn't legal advice, but the value of having your rental property in an LLC is really important when it's an Airbnb or short term rental. They call it STR.
Mm-hmm.
And if Nashville continues to go down the route of limiting STRs in the city, houses are grandfathered in until transfer of ownership. So if you own an Airbnb and you sell it, the new owner possibly could not keep it as an Airbnb, which is really brings a lot of the value to that home. So the resale value could diminish drastically if the new owner cannot keep it as an STR. If the house is inside of an LLC, when you buy the LLC, there's technically no transfer of ownership of the house. The LLC transfers ownership, and that property is still grandfathered in. So if Nashville changes and there's no more new Airbnbs allowed inside the city, your LLC will be able to be sold and kept as an STR. So your resale value is still very
I
strong.
learned that as well through it. Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
Beautiful. So circus clown, college dropout to circus clown to business owner, investing in cash flowing assets, utilizing the boring old asset of life insurance. And you mentioned that you've used your policy a couple of times. And you just used it recently, not for a fund purchase. What was the most recent
We
purchase?
needed a new HVAC system. So that was we just, it's kind of like putting money in a really old car that just keeps breaking. And
Your house?
no, our house is wonderful. But the HVAC system, it just kept giving us problem. I mean, I was on the every 6 months having it serviced just to check, and
Yeah.
things just kept breaking. And it's like when you're putting money into a car and they pretty much just say, well, it needs a new transmission and that's worth more than the car. So we
Yeah.
bit the bullet and we got a new system, but we weren't expecting that big chunk of change that we would need to buy. Plus, it was the first of the year, I believe, that we had to buy it. And actually, no, I think it was around taxes. So it was just a lot going on at once. So yeah, we used our policy to buy it, which was such a huge help.
I'm a big fan of HELOCs, right? Like I like the idea of leveraging the house.
Mm-hmm.
But when interest rates go up to 10% like they are right now,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden a HELOC might not be the place that you want to pull from to go fix your HVAC. Like I love the idea of your house paying for your house to get fixed,
Mm-hmm.
right? If there's equity, let's use the equity to keep the house going.
Mm-hmm.
But at 10% to borrow, that's not attractive. Do you know what your loan rate is at the insurance company?
No, I have the paperwork, but no, I don't know.
I'm assuming it's in the high 4%.
Could be. I really don't know.
Yeah, insurance companies don't change their loan rates, but once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever you borrowed that loan rate won't change
Mm-hmm.
until your anniversary. So as these interest rates go up and down like crazy every month on HELOCs,
Mm-hmm.
your life insurance won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the value is not having a policy, it's having a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use the home equity? Do you use your savings, which might be going to the IRS,
Mm-hmm.
or do you use your life insurance, which can double as a retirement account when you're 60? Guess what? You don't need a quote unquote retirement account to retire. You just need money and cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
And your policy could create that income and cash flow in retirement years. The benefit is that you get to use it before you're 60. You're 30 and you've used it multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Without having to dial into our savings. It's pretty nice.
So congratulations, Emily Love of Love Horsemanship and Dressage. Is that right? Or dressage and
There you
horsemanship?
go.
There you go. Awesome. And so we'll make sure that people get some links for your socials and how to contact you if they want to get a lesson. I know you have different packages and things. It's all on the website.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All the pricing's there and my release waivers there. Everything's there.
Cool. Any final thoughts that you want to leave us with from the mind of an entrepreneur?
I mean, I'm still in the early stages of it, so I don't know how much advice I can give, but I can speak with going through this with Lucas, who's also an entrepreneur and in the process of starting up a business himself. It's to surround yourself with like-minded people and people who can support you during the whole process, and finding people who share the same values is really important for both of us as I've expanded my business and really found who I am as a horse trainer, because the world of horse training is very large and everyone has their niche, and it took me a while to find mine, and now that I'm there, I'm just really grounded. And it's similar with Lucas as he's expanding his business, finding people of just like-mindedness who will support him has been really, really helpful, even in like the hardest times, because being a business owner can be tough. And
It's not all just going up,
no,
rainbows and
are you
unicorns.
kidding? No, our our conversations are much different today than when we first lived together in our little apartment. So
Can you ever see yourself going back to getting a job, a W-2?
Not as a full, not as like my career. No, no. I would not want to do that. No,
Yeah.
no.
Emily, thank you so much. Couldn't have said it better. That was wonderful.
Thanks.
I'll see you at
Thanks for
Christmas.
having me. I know. See you then.
All right.
Love ya.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll have contact information for Emily down below. And so check out the description.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye. Love
Bye.
you.
Love ya.